Hello everybody, welcome to Lab 2 Objective 5 where we're going to be going over with admin option. Now, there's a difference between with admin option and with grant option. With admin option is used with system privileges and with grant option is used with object privileges. Now, if you append these three words to the end of a grant statement, especially in this context with admin option, if those are appended to the end of a grant system privilege statement, what it does is it allows the receiver of that grant, is that the grantee? I think so. It allows that person to, or that user, to also grant it to other users as well. So what we're going to do, let's start off by going into the demo user, and what they're going to try to do is they're going to try to create a table, but they're going to be trying to create the table in the labs database connection, right? So we're going to go ahead and try and do that. And it doesn't work, right? They don't have insufficient privileges. And the way we did that was not just we're creating the practice table, but in lab. And that didn't work, right? Because we're in demo and we don't have the correct privileges. So what we can do is if we go to sys, we can start playing around with some of these privileges here. So we'll start off by granting create any table, right? Create a table with any database connection, and we're going to give that to lab. And we're also appending this with admin option, which means lab should technically be able to pass that on to our demo user, and we're going to do that. Grant create any table to demo. And now what we'll see here is that if we try to run this exact same code, this time it worked, right? Create lab.practice, that worked. If we come in here, we can actually select from that practice table. Had a hard time spelling that. And you'll see, there we go, call 1, call 2, right? So now, what if we want to revoke this privilege? What happens? Let's go ahead and play around with this just a little bit. So let's come back here, and what we're going to do is we are going to revoke the create any table from lab. So let's go ahead and see what happens when we do that. So revoke any table from lab. So lab is no longer able to create a table from somewhere else, right? We understand that. But what happened to demo? Because demo received that privilege from lab, right? So is the demo user affected by this at all? Let's take a look. So now let's create a practice 1 table in demo. We're still going to be creating it in lab, right? So we'll run this code, and you'll see here, oops, there we go. So we were able to do that, right? Lab1 practice, or lab.practice1 created, right? So just because I revoked it from lab doesn't necessarily mean it revokes it from demo, right? So what do I have to do in order to revoke it from demo, right? So what we can do is if we append to this revoke create any table from lab and we say cascade constraints. Now, if we just add cascade like we typically do, it will say there's a missing keyword. If we add this as well, this actually isn't going to work either. So if we do, we actually have to grant this back to lab. So if we do that, and let's come back to lab and let's use that to grant any table to demo. So we've been able to come back. So now we're at the same point where we want to revoke it from lab, but this time we're going to say constraints. And that revoke succeeded. And now we'll come back to this lab and we're going to actually create a 3rd practice table. I'm going to run this one. And we'll see we're still able. So here's the reality. You'll find in a lot of documentation that if you use the cascade, it should remove it from other users. And from my experience, that doesn't work. Now, if you've experienced that, if you found a way to do that, I'd love to see it. But from my experience, there isn't really a way to cascade that. Once a user has access to something, in order to, if you want to remove it from that user, you have to directly do so. So what you would do is you would just come in here, and instead of lab, you'd write demo. We run this, and if we come back here to demo, and we try to create, once again, another table, now we have insufficient privileges again. So that's exactly how that works. This was a little bit of a long video, but hopefully that can help us understand how the chain of custody goes with regards to system privileges. We'll see you in the next video.